Hello everybody. I just wanted to give you a short demonstration of my 1/2 and 1/4 square triangle ruler. I came up with this to try and make it easier for you to do these accurately. I'll just give you a little demonstration. This is the ruler. You'll find that it's got a normal measurement across the bottom in inches, but it's also got these 2 grooves, long grooves on the sides here, and then 2 short grooves through the middle. Now how you use it is place this on your fabric like so that the diagonal line goes through that corner and this corner. I'll give you some measurements in a minute so that you can work out what size square to cut to be able to get your finished square, that 1/2 square triangle that you're looking for. Okay, now just another short thing. With our keyhole, this is basically the same groove that we use on our keyhole templates, which you can see in another video, but we use these Uniball Kuratoga pencils, which is a 0.7 millimeter. But what I like about these is the fact that they've got a metal shaft here so that the actual mechanical pencil lead doesn't have to come out too far, and therefore you don't risk breaking it all the time. Alternatively, we found these Staedtler Tri-Plus fine liners at, well, I got them at Officeworks, but most office supply shops would have them. They're a dry safe pen, so you can leave the lid off for a little while and they won't dry out. The other thing is they will wash out, providing you haven't ironed them, and they don't come back. But because you're working on the back of the fabric and you just draw very lightly, it's not much different to using a pencil. Okay, the trick is to put the pen in the groove vertically and just draw a quick line through both of those grooves and also through the center grooves, just like that. So your square is quickly marked with an accurate 1/4 inch out from the center of your piece. Then what you're going to do is take that to your machine and do your stitching immediately on that line that you've drawn. So stitch right on top of that line. You're not trying to allow a scant either way because of the thread thickness. This is your actual stitching line. Then what you're going to do with the tool as well is take this and rotary cut it through the center. Just by, I should show you that better. Just by lining your ruler up on those 2 lines that you've drawn, and just rotary cut through the middle. Now, of course, I've deliberately used a beige thread just so it'll stand out for you. What you would achieve then is your 1/2 square triangle. Now, in the calculations, what I'm saying to you is I've built in a little bit of play in the size here. I'm just finger pressing this open. But if you start with a square that's an inch larger than the finished size of your block, then you should have no drama in getting it cut to the size that you want. I'm just going to swing away for a moment and give that a quick press. Now that you've got your nice 1/2 square triangle, the other thing that we have is what we call the square it up ruler. Really just a simple little ruler. Of course, you can just use a normal patchwork ruler with lots of grids on it, but I thought this simplified it so that you can see clearly where you've got to put it. So because I started with a 5-inch square, I'm now going to square this up to 4.5 inch, which then gives me a 4-inch finished block. So it's quite simple. Just lie that on there. You've got the diagonal line for your 1/2 square triangle. Just make sure that this 4.5 inch line comes inside this edge of the fabric. Then you can trim these two edges off. Spin this around. Then put this on your 4.5 inch line. Now remember to have that line just on the edge of the fabric. Don't have it over this way, because what that means is this piece of fabric or your block is going to be smaller than the 4.5 inch. You want it just on the edge of the fabric. And again, trim that. And there we have a nice finished half square triangle that's 4.5 inches square. Now, of course, when you sew that into your block or into your quilt, you'll end up with a 4-inch finished size. So again, just reiterating that, when you cut your original square, cut it 1 inch larger than the finished size that you want. Now, having said that, we can now take that one step further. When you have 2 half square triangles, and I deliberately haven't trimmed these because we'll trim them later, but we're now going to we're going to make a 1/4 square triangle. So when you're doing the calculations for your squares for this, cut your square 1.5 inches larger than the finished size of your block that you want. Now, what I've done here is I've layered the 2 squares with the seams butting in the middle, and I'm going to use the ruler to then draw through here again through the 2 long grooves. That's your stitching line, and to the short ones are your cutting line once you've stitched. Now, I won't go and stitch that now because I've got one prepared. So here we are, and I've just done again on the actual line that we've drawn, stitching immediately on top of that. Then using your ruler, line up the 2 lines in the center. Cut through the middle, and you will end up with a beautiful 1/4 square triangle that just needs trimming. Now, the trick is to have those 2 fabrics, when you lay them on top of each other, if you've got your seams pressed to the dark each time, when you lay them together, they should match up really well in the center. You'll feel the two seams come together, and you shouldn't feel a gap between them. That's the trick to get that really nice match in the center. Now, here's one I prepared earlier that's been pressed, so it's ready to go. Now, as I said before, we cut the squares 5 inch. Well, in fact, they came from a charm pack, but we cut the squares 5 inch. So when you do the 2 lots of seams, you then end up with a block that's going to finish at 3.5 inches square. So what we've got here is we're now going to cut these at 4 inches to end up with that 3.5 inch finished size. So again, just trim these up. This is where you cut all your dog ears off at the same time. Turn your block around and then lay that on the 4-inch line. And again, you've got your diagonal going through here, and just trim that. And you've got your very nice 1/4 square triangle ready to piece into your quilt. Thank you for watching. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to send me an email or give me a ring. Thank you.